The dignified letter. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Perceptive Readers this week. This week I would like to talk about letters, letter writing, what they have been used for in times past. Now, I'm just talking personally. You're actually listening to one who has written so many letters over the years that I've actually lost track of just how many letters I've written here and there. And it was really all the way up until the period of about between 2010 and 2015 that my letters became just more specific, had more of a a friendly type of way, but more on a professional edge of things as well. You know, there was a purpose behind the letters, you see. But with every letter that, I would mull around and think about in my mind, it always had the touch and the desire for it to be in the most dignified way and even form. And why is that the case? Because along with transitioning from one business or profession that I was in to more of, as you know, the writing and the podcasting and the commentary aspect of things, there was another goal, as I told you, a purpose. Now, what was that purpose that I was planning on using my letter writing? Well, first, let me tell you, I've always just had a desire, instead of purchasing a laptop, every so many years, and then because the other one is just totally falling apart, it's always been my desire to also just really purchase a sole writing computer. You hear me? Just totally locking that bad boy down, all my ideas and things of that nature that would also, merge or sync with maybe, another souped up type phone that also, like I said, would just be more for my writing and my thoughts and things of that nature. Well, at this moment, I don't have it like that. It's just really, again, one sole laptop. Even the one, that I used to use as a server, so to speak. I just had a lot of programs that was running all the time, automation all the time. That one has conked out on me now. So I'm down to my last laptop now. But with that still being said, I just wanted to let you know what was going to be on or will be on that laptop, you see. Again, I talked about letter writing. And in my research, I listened to a lot of persons, commentators, etc., from the professionals to actually, your everyday people, YouTubers as well. And some persons know one of the reasons why I did that over the years is to always see, you heard me express that Jesus, knew how a person got there, and when I'm talking about knew, like, maybe someone was on the street or what have you, in a tussle or a tough situation, arguing with somebody. And, you could see all the ins and outs of that. And you could see people stating this and that towards one another. But remember I said internally, he also knew why they were there, not just how they got there at that moment, but why, what was going on, what was their thinking process, and why did things, how could matters even flare up, or how could persons end up in sad situations, also along with different positions and titles, that they acquired, and, in their occupations, how they got there. And you could see by doing that, then he was always ready and prepared to be able to touch their hearts. Just like, remember, even tax collectors who were known to actually price gouge people, to take their cut, if you will. The point is they didn't have to cut into what was owed to Caesar. They just added more tax on top of that just to make sure that they gave Caesar their due and made sure they took their cut as well. So it was not one of those occupations that people looked highly upon, unless once again they were the ones doing it, the way that they was price gouging people. But see, after talking to Jesus eating dinner with them and things of that nature at that time, what would happen? It actually caused tax collectors, some of them, to repent to such an extent that they were saying, no, not only were they going to return, what they took. That's what they were going to do. And I can't remember whether some of them were motivated, to even apply what, the law covenant was stating still at that time about, if you stole from somebody, you had to actually return sevenfold, such things. But that's just a side note. All the same, but you could see the expressions that, some of the tax collectors made after talking to Jesus and repenting. And, repenting, going through with additional actions, so to speak, to show just how sorry they were for certain, situations and things that they had did. But see, remember, so Jesus saw the situation that these persons were in. Now, remember, I told you on face value and on the surface, I told you a lot of persons just wouldn't have even talked to them. A lot of persons just would have called them, even though they were, had a lot of money. They certainly was looking at them that, no, persons like that certainly not going to be in God's kingdom, in that future time. But again, that's just another thought. You can just tell how people view others in different situations and occupations at times, right? And yet, Jesus was able to talk to such ones. And then next thing you know, the overflowing, the happiness, of everything, the experience with Jesus caused them to change their life. Okay. Now, getting back to, like I told you, what are the letters for? Well, as I told you, I, listened to a variety of people. And, with that being said, I've always, planned on, another aspect of what the Product of Culture, website was about was to, continue to highlight, different documentaries, different statements. And I've certainly done that with music, but you can always, check on the coffee shop area at times and really see other, talking points and ideologies and things of that nature that people have between one another. You see what I'm saying? And also the frustration with one another. But you still get to hear and see, their ideals or where they're coming from. And that is why many of you over the years was coming to the website, because, some of these people, you wouldn't have gave them the time of day, would you? You wouldn't have gave them the time of day. But because, this guy with the corny jokes was putting them up there, you said, well, I guess I'll go ahead and look at it, but what have you. And that's what you did. And I guarantee that you have learned a point here or there, found something else very interesting that you wouldn't have thought about if you wouldn't have heard that person express themselves in that way. So still with that information, one of the things that, was part of what I was planning on doing. See, if you notice, I said planning on doing, because I'm saying in this case, no, not everybody's going to get an official letter like, I would have done in times past for some of these persons to actually really let them know. And I'm talking about, sent through email. To actually let them know that, I've watched your expressions, your statements, and yes, even some of your teachings, for about a year or so, or what have you. And on this day, what I'm going to do is actually share this video, at my website, But I'm also going to probably have something from my point of view as well. But I want you to know that when I do address you the same way that I'm addressing you in this letter, it is still going to be in a dignified manner. See, that was again all part of so many things that you've seen that the Product of Culture website, you see, has been a part of. And like I told you, persons who's been with the website since the beginning, they know, that was part of what, I was doing and moving towards, along with, make no mistake about it. As I said before, the Product of Culture website, yes, it still has the facet as well of, I'm in it to make money. I'm in it not on the spiritual side of things. I remember I always said again, all this stuff freebie. If you ever want to know where I got this information from or that information from, I'll gladly share it with you. It's just that simple. But like I said again, when it has come to my books, my audio books, anything that I put on Amazon, Spotify, or what have you, you see, that is, my money and my currency. And I've always said again that just because somebody doesn't like you, doesn't like me, doesn't like, my writings, don't like my spiritual views or what have you, that does not give them the right to sabotage any of my items. That does not give them the right to steal from me. Period. It doesn't. And I said again, people may abuse their power and authority and their connections with others in that way. But I'm still here to say today, everything that has been stolen from me over the years, you see, and stuff like that, God still sees it. And so I ain't going to say too much more about that. So with that being said, I still thought a lot in this year, alone, just in some of my, deep thoughts and meditations and, prayer, if you will, that I was like, should I still do this aspect, you see, but not as formal as I would like to make it. And on one hand, I still just don't like to do that because I told you, I really believe in dignifying people with at least a letter. It shows a lot of, like I said, respect as well. And these are some of the things that, like I said, they really have to come back if you, want to, I've always said again, want to, help people, to know and to implement these upright professional and business practices, you see, and, more and more persons are really seeing the difference between how the internet, can really be the ultimate, tool, if you will, but not for, once again, you see, taking away the human touch, the human communication when it's definitely needed. But see, at the very least, it's still always encouraging and it has a touch to it that the person know, oh, okay. And see, and when you write a letter like that, okay, to someone and you send it, through email or what have you, then what happens? They find out that, okay, you highlighted, one of their videos on the website. They may go there or have somebody else, depending on whether they have assistants or not or what have you, to look at what is going on, what is happening, you see. And then it just adds a whole overall touch and things of this nature. And so that's what, like I told you, my other laptop would be for, along with my writings and books and stuff like that. But I just wanted to share this, with you again, because, sometimes, the persons who follow you and this and that, may have a suggestion about, why do you share this, or why do you share that, or why you, and all I'm going to do is tell you two things. One, there are some persons who are in a situation, you know what, it doesn't matter whether they, share it or not. Because if they write it down, then there are nosy people in their surveillance that's always scanning things and stuff. And that's a fact. If they talk to someone in private, there's no confidentiality anymore. See, some people's lives are like that. And if you want to understand further what I mean by that, will you take a look at the song Delicate? Delicate. You know who sings that song? Well, just do a Google search. Delicate. Delicate. And then you will understand why some persons are in these type of situations. That's why they just go ahead and say, okay, if you're in this type of situation, well, I'm going to just say what I really feel anyway. I'm going to say a lot, because the whole point is, you can try to be sparing person's feelings, but then when you got the nosy people, when you're just having a regular coffee room conversation, you see, with somebody, and if somebody eavesdrop in on that and then say, ooh, did you hear so-and-so say, if such and such talk mess, and what happened? But see, like I said before, some people no longer have that, and it's not meant to be a luxury either, but no persons at this time, in history, no longer has that, that privacy in that manner. And that's, again, if I was to mention about saying your prayers in private or in the closet, like Jesus said, see, they don't even get that. So the point is, they can go in the closet all they want, but like I said, but the nosy people all around. So with that being said, that this part of, something that I've enjoyed doing in times past or what have you, about the letter writing aspect of things and people, it's not some type of ideal that I'm worried about. Oh, did you know so-and-so heard what you said? Now they're still in there doing it. I'm not even worried about that, because one thing, if you've been following, like I said again, since I've really turned, like I told you, my transition to the writing business since 2010, or the audiobook creation and commentary podcasting, since then, there's enough information out there. There's enough books I've written. There's enough books I started. And this is what I want to make clear. You've seen a lot of the series I've written about. You've seen ones that I've created for commentary and podcasting. You've seen a lot of the books that I started. And I told you, part of my process was I already knew, especially at my age already, I had already gained some credentials that persons don't know about. I've gained certificates that persons don't know about. See, because as you know, of what was happening on the internet since I've came on. As I've said before, and I stand by it, I know there are some professional men. See, I want to be specific with this. I'm putting the women aside, because I know some say, well, so-and-so was doing this and doing. No, I want to leave the women out of this for this one, because I want to say this clearly. There were some professional men that know they made a good, pretty penny off me as well. But, they ain't gonna never tell you that. And see, but I want to tell you this also. When I state that, that doesn't mean you're not qualified. That doesn't mean you're not smart. That doesn't mean you're not intelligent. When I said it, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you got your break because of going in with this situation that I was in. And you did. But see, I ain't gonna mention your name. You know who you are, more than one of you. So that's my whole point. There are some people that, after they found out, oh, Oh, since I didn't know all I saw was there was money to be made. I know that is what you saw. And that's why you were exploited. And now the point is, are you still going to continue with the exploitation because of so busy trying to save face? Go continue along with allowing, you see, certain actions, certain sabotage to go on, you see. So that's just another thought again. So let me share something further, okay, in closing still about the letter write. See, some of the persons that I've actually, looked at, they crack me up. And now this is what I mean by crack me up. They say what they mean what they say, and they tell it like it is. And it's to the point that actually some of the statements that they make, let me tell you, it's one of those things where it's like, oh my goodness, the person certainly does have, freedom of speech to express themselves. You see, it's just that sometimes, if you want to really get your point, across and reach, even the persons who may be, needing it in a more palatable way, which, some of these persons saying, I'm not changing it. Okay. All right. That's fine. But see, this was the reason for the letter writing, to let certain persons know sometimes that, boy, you make some good points all the way up until the last, the last few minutes. And that doesn't mean your last few minutes are once again, bad points. But boy, when you start talking about exactly what you want to do to hard-headed people like that, it can, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, okay, more power to you. But see, here's the point. Here's the point. See, there are persons like that got it together in that way. And you give persons like that another, several months or maybe some years or what have you. And guess what? You will find then a growth in several different areas where the person then will probably go into, I really can say anything I want. And yet I always know that even though I have my audience, well, there are some persons who is leaning towards this, but they're not there yet to be able to handle every way that, I may express myself. So I'm going to once again prepare a message or what have you this way for them. You see what I'm talking about? And that's what happens as you get older. And this is why I'm telling you this, because just like the example that I use with, Jesus and the tax collectors. Now, I'm not calling this person tax collector. What I'm saying is, remember, Jesus knew eternally too why these people took the occupations that they took, why they did what they did. Now, sometimes it was just passed down. Yes. From their father, the occupation or what have you. But all the same, why did, they also carry out many of those practices that was price gouging to people and things of that nature? Whatever may be the case, Jesus still knew how to once again make his message to them personable. He did if he was sitting up there eating dinner with them. He did. Can you just see Jesus eating dinner with, a tax collector, or even, we know he even ate with persons who were prostitutes. And the whole time he's sitting up there eating, breaking bread, he calling them no good this, no good that, no good, your mama did. You see what I'm saying? You just can't see him doing it that way. Am I correct? So the whole point is, I'm sharing this with you all today, that if I start, just only special type of section that may, only run on one day, sometimes like on a Caring and Sharing Thursday or whatever it may be, just know that This is what I encourage you to do. If there is a question or there's something that you don't agree with, this person or that person, what they're saying, why don't you write a letter, a respectful letter, and inquire? I mean, it's certainly exercise your mind and brain over the spring and summer, especially, some of you're graduating and everything. And that's one thing I'm going to tell you that my father was real big on too, is like, keep that mind busy. Keep that mind always, thinking or what have you, reading or what have you. And so why don't you do it? Again, if you wanted to make a comment about, James, why did you put this video here? You got the minds.com/PocbooksCrypto where you can do it. But I'm just letting you know again, in order, like I said, to be heard, even yourself, your own voice, on these matters. This can help, put aside the fear and not be just one of those persons that they call, drive-bys. Always, just want to say something, negative. Yeah, you got those type of persons. But I'm telling you right now, you write a paragraph or two, a comment on some of these persons, channels. And like I said, and talk like an intelligible human. Remember I told you, even if it was a car salesman, remember we talked about that in the, PocbooksCrypto Telegram app moment, about if you really want to know where somebody's coming from, then, just ask them in a respectful way. See, it doesn't matter if people would say, well, I don't respect that person. Well, the point is, if that person got some information that you do want, you better show some respect. You see, and that's the whole thing about, don't you think you need to show some respect, some dignity? Or once again, if you don't do that, could it be just because it's on the pride side, So anyway, thank you for being here in this Perceptive Readers podcast this week. It's a wonderful, week. It's nice outside, graduations are going on. And also for this week, for the next several days, because, you heard me talk about the graduation at NYU, May 18th, that I'm once again interested in. They got a lot of speakers, with background keynote speakers, stuff like that. So you're going to get some interesting, talks, so to speak, life experiences, to say the least. All right. And like I said, if they're going to have it up on the YouTube channel, what have you, I'll make sure that I major feature it on the PocbooksCrypto.com website. Okay. And so thank you, for being here. I want you to always keep doing the best you can. And I'm glad many of you who have been with me, at least in the online aspect of things since 2010, are still with me. And, hey, remember, in the end of all matters, even though you see battles going on, you see, myself having to continue to stand up, for my conscience, for our rights and things of that nature, which is scriptural, which you can do and which I am exercising, you see. If God didn't like it, but see, I know God is pleased with it. That's the way I feel about it. And I've seen too much, in my life to know that He is a righteous God. He is a loving God, and He is not a bully. Okay. He is a loving God. All right. So thank you for being here. Happy graduation for all of you who have already had your commencements, and speeches over the past week or so, and the ones that's coming up this week. All right. So take care of yourself. Bye-bye. You have just listened to the Perceptive Readers podcast. remember, until next time, if you read something that encourages you to improve or enhance your life for the better, it becomes your reality.